Hello, everyone. Thanks for logging on to CBSColorado.com. Time now for a few extra minutes with Super Bowl 50 champion Ryan Harris. I'm so glad we have got a seasoned Super Bowl champion in the house to talk about this. The Broncos got 2 games left. Win one, and you're in. There's no doubt that there's pressure, but a good team handles that pressure. So what are you looking for from this Broncos team in terms of how they handle this?
Number 1, red zone touchdowns. Number 2, run the football. That's offensively. And then defensively, you got to make the plays for 4 quarters. People forget the Broncos are the 3rd youngest team in the NFL, and especially on defense, how I see that play out is those 3rd and particularly 4th quarter runs that happen because there's a lack of focus. So it's attention to detail for 4 quarters and beyond. Because if you get to overtime, you want to win overtime.
Yes. All right, so then let me ask you, everything you've seen to this point from this team, are you confident they can do that?
I'm confident they can. Whether or not they're able to execute at a high level for that long, especially against the Bengals, who have one of the best offenses in the history of the NFL, it's going to be a challenge. And yet, that's what you want. I mean, if you're a playoff team, it's not win one and you're in. It's we're winning from here on out.
Right.
And that mentality shift has to happen. It's tough for a young team to realize that. But the pressure is actually going to be on the field when they feel the physicality of the hits, because the Bengals are playing to stay alive in the mathematical playoff chase. So it's going to be intense. They can do it. But will they be willing to execute for 4 quarters? That's the big question.
So let's do some keys to victory. Offensively, what does this Broncos team have to do on Saturday to walk away with a playoff spot?
Run the football to keep the ball away from the Bengals. You do not want Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow to have multiple opportunities to score. And then you got to take care of the football. You don't want to give them on the heels of a touchdown or heels of a field goal. You don't want to put your defense back out there. And then defensively, you got to get to Joe Burrow with your 4 down linemen. Nick Bonito, you want to make another $20 million? Go get 2 sacks against Joe Burrow and help the Broncos win. It's going to be a big payday for him. Big game for Zach Allen. Those 2 could play a big role.
You know, after the game in L.A., quite a few players said it was a good wake-up call. And I always wonder, when a player says it's a wake-up call, how does one internalize that? And how quickly can you turn a wake-up call into success?
It means I made choices not to be as detail-oriented in my recovery and my preparation and my studying, and I thought I was good. And I wasn't. And we all have those moments in life when you're like, oh, I've done this before. I can do it again. And you get there like, oh, man, maybe I should have prepared. So the tendency, especially when you're getting paid a lot of money, is to say, hey, I'm getting paid because I know what I'm doing. But it's the details that matter, and that's the difference. Champions are willing for 27 weeks to pay attention to the details and execute, and the Broncos found that out just this past Thursday against the Chargers.
You know, I think it's kind of nail-biting time in Broncos country, but when you take a step back, regardless of what happens the next 2 weeks, well, actually, let me rephrase that. You feel like going into this season has certainly been a success.
Yes.
Do the last 2 weeks of the season, whatever happens, will that change your opinion of whether or not this was a successful season?
It will, because let's be clear, the goal at the Broncos is to win a Super Bowl. It's not enough to go to the playoffs here.
Sure.
And a lot of teams across the NFL, it's good to go to the playoffs. Not here. We have higher expectations. The organization provides those higher expectations in the way they take care of the players, the way they get the coaches and players to succeed in here. So if you don't win a championship, you had an unsuccessful season. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't know. I think the way to win is to win it all.
I don't know. When I look at that big old beautiful shiny thing, I'd say I think you're right. Ryan, such a treat as always to have your insight, and you're like the busiest man in broadcasting. Thank you for taking the time.
Great to be here. Go Broncos.
We appreciate you guys so much, and thank you for logging on. We will see you next time.